So today I'm pretty much doing a Senton refresh. I'm going to re-grease all the gearing inside and pretty much just clean up everything and see if I find anything else broken, but the grease I'm going to be using is this red and tacky. Excuse the dirty Senton. It's in need of a good clean, but I'll get to that after the whole refresh, but let's get started. So we're going to have to take off a few screws before I get started. I'm going to take out these, take off the shocks, and then of course on the rear end we're going to do the same thing. Take off the bumper, and then after we take out the bumper, we're going to take out all the necessary screws on the bottom. If you haven't taken apart your Senton before, most of the screws that we're going to be taking off are a size 2. Most of the screws are 2 millimeter. There's a few on the bottom that are 2.5 millimeter, but you could work on this whole car with a 1.5, a 2, and a 2.5 millimeter. So what I recommend everybody do with the Senton or any Arrma 3S vehicles is upgrade to these Traxxas tie rod ends. I'll put the part number, but the stock ones, bushings, would they be bushings? Whatever you call those things, wear out all the time, and all the aftermarket ones you can get do the same thing. But these Traxxas tie rod ends have steel, what would you call those? They would be, pivot balls. Yeah, they'd be pivot balls. It has steel pivot balls on the inside of these. So I'll put the part number, but these are a must upgrade, and I have them all around, everywhere they need to be. That's loose. Okay, let's take off these tie rods. Pretty much it for the front, other than, getting the screws on the bottom side. But I'm going to take out this drive shaft right now, get that out of the way, so then we can start working on our front. So you just compress the spring and pull out from the front. So this is where we're going to have to use our 2.5 millimeter driver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws that we're going to have to take out to access our diff. It's like this front bumper assembly out, with a little skid plate on it. Get that out of the way. So we took off everything we need on the bottom. So let's get our car stand back. Flip it back over. And then you'll see this is going to come right off. Oh, actually, I gotta do one more thing. Okay. So this pops off and then we can access our diff. So you can see I upgraded to the Hot Racing aluminum yokes. And I also have metal gearing on the inside. Did that upgrade a year after having my Senton. So I've had this upgrade, or both of these, in my Senton for about a year, 0 issues. As long as you upkeep, re-grease every now and again, make sure there's not a bunch of dirt on the inside of these, they'll last a long time. You won't be replacing them like your plastic ones. So honestly, these still move pretty free. So I think I'm just going to re-grease it and call it a day. I was going to take it out and clean up all the inside, but honestly this is still pretty smooth, so I'm just going to add more grease and close it back up. The first time I greased this up, I used this low-C high pressure grease. But I mean, it's like $5.99 for one of these little things. So I thought I would try this big ol', hold on, let's get this out of the way. This red and tacky, big old container full of grease that's gonna last me pretty much lifetime with this RC. So I'm gonna give this a try. My friend has an exact setup of my Senton to use this and it works just fine, so I'm gonna grease it up with this. Rotate it around, let it spread out. I feel like that's more than enough. Alright, that's all greased up, so let's put on the cover again. I mean, that's all we had to do, or that's all I wanted to do. I mean, I should probably clean up everything, but I'll save that for next time. Like I said, I'm being lazy. But yeah, let's screw up the bottom again. So that's all back together. So then now, we just gotta put all these little screws back in to get the tie rods in, and let's put our front shocks back on. Okay, so for these Traxxas tie rods I was talking about, they're a little more narrow than stock, so I gotta put the little washer in for a spacer. And if it's not obvious by now, I have a 3D printed bumper on, or at least bumper support. My stock one would break every time I take out my Senton. So I happened to find this print online. My friend's uncle has a 3D printer. Not really sure what plastic he used and all that, but this little support's been it's a year old and it's withstood everything. It's even withstood skate park bashing, so recommend getting rid of that stock bumper support. We got some nice and free movement here. We keep the wheels off for now. We'll put them back on in the end. But now let's start working on the rear. Oh, actually, let's put the shocks back on. I almost forgot. But back together, let's work on the rear. Just like the front, these are all 2mm screws. So let's take these out. Let's take the bumper support off. If you're just trying to access the diff, for the bumper, all you gotta take out is those 2 screws and it'll come off with the whole skid plate when you unscrew the bottom. Alright, shocks are off, so let's, like the front, we're gonna take off the tie rods. Okay, let me get this wheel off real quick. Now I just gotta take out the whole motor assembly and then we can start unscrewing the bottom. Actually, there is one screw we gotta take out on the bottom real quick. It's this one right here, because there's a little red plastic piece that is pretty much holding the motor in place. Okay, so now we're ready to take out the motor. So the way I do it is I get a big old screwdriver, flathead, and then I kind of pry it between this red piece right here, and then I just have this giant, or it's not even that big, just set of pliers. I use it like a little hammer and I kind of just hit it out. So you're just hitting out this piece right here. So you can slide your motor forward. And they act like it's, the way it's designed, it looks like it's supposed to be super easy to take out, but I always have to be aggressive with it and hit it out. Does it make your plastic look ugly? Yeah, but it gets, you know, I get the job done. So I just hit these 2 points here, back and forth until it slowly slides forward. Let's pop this tab out. That'd probably be a good idea. Making it harder than it needs to be. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it likes to accumulate a lot of junk in there. I'll show you after I kind of get this out. Yeah, every now and again I'll probably take the motor out just to clean it up because it accumulates a lot under the motor assembly and you can't even just blow it out. You would have to take out the motor to get all this out. So let me go clean that out real fast. Alright, that's all cleaned out now. Just blew it out with the electric blower. Like I said, my Senton's pretty dirty right now, but I'll have to do a nice deep clean at some point. My heat sink is all like bent up on the bottom from the rocks that get stuck in there, and I guess all the slamming on this part of the chassis. Let's flip it over. The motor's gonna swing. Alright, so then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these 2.5 screws. Okay, all these screws are out, so let's pop off this skid plate with the bumper on it. Kind of have to bend it slightly. Okay, and it has a little tabs, pops right out. It's a little dirt, let's brush it off real quick. Alright, so that's off. Flip back over. Move this guy out of the way. But we got this open now. I feel like this diff gets a lot more dirt inside of it, which is a problem because that's just going to mix with the grease and it's just going to clog it up. So I'm going to have this, I have like a rock climbing brush. I just use to kind of get all the excess, brush it around a bit, so let me do that real quick and I'll get right back. Get nice and full of grease. One more little dab. It moves nice and freely, doesn't lock up on anything, as you can see there. I don't know if you guys have the problem, but as soon as you work on your car, like the desk space just gets so clogged and there's just tools everywhere. I have zero idea how people keep their desks clean, but that's what happens when I work on my cars. But anyways, let's put this top cover back on, and then let's flip it over and screw it back together. And let's not forget this skid plate and bumper. Clip it on, bend it a little bit, get it over over the hinge pin covers. Alright, back there, let's get our screws. Okay, that's all back together. Like I said, all free, moving very nice. Let's pop our motor back in. So we're gonna put in these tabs, drop it in place, and then we gotta make sure that we're gonna line up the rear input with our assembly here. So let's straighten that out together. All right, let's put it in. So we're gonna drop it, get in place, and then we're just gonna push. And then it snaps right in. So now that we got that in, let's put our drive shaft back in here. So I always put it in front end first. I think it's the easiest. Spin it till it wants to get in. Make sure your bearings on its little holder. I forgot to put the plastic piece in. All right, let's pop my tie rods back in. Attach the bumper again, and then put on the shocks, and then we're done. Oops, I almost forgot this piece. I'll put on my wheels, and then let's put this little bracket back on. Okay, so this is back together. Actually, before I say officially back together, let's put on this piece I forgot about. So let's take out the drive shaft again. You know, it's really easy to work on this car. It doesn't really take that long, but for sure it takes a really long time if you don't have one of these. So really recommend getting an electric screwdriver if you don't have one, because or else you're just going to be spending so much time on the bottom screws just taking those out. But anyways, I did what I wanted to do today, so let's do some driving.